good morning, and happy Wednesday from the farm. Today is December 28th, 2022. Welcome to Thinking Outside the Soil, where we talk about topics related to the farmers and ranchers using hydroponic practices to grow the crops and creatures we need to eat. I am your host, Sean Short, and thank you for being with me on this beautiful morning. What a great day lies ahead for us all. Today, I'm going to talk about the birds that eat hydroponic fodder. These would be our winged friends like chickens, ducks, turkey, and other game birds. You know, I've been doing hydroponics for over a decade, and I've learned how beneficial it can be when it's used correctly. However, it wasn't until I started raising my own chickens that I learned how practical hydroponics could be for every farmer. My first products as a new farmer were alfalfa and clover sprouts. I had a lot of failures in the beginning, which led to wasted sprouts, so like any resourceful farmer, I fed my spent sprouts to my chickens. Naturally, the chickens ate it up. However, this wasn't a complete aha moment because it's pretty much the natural part of any sustainable farming system. Yet, I began to hear a lot of my patrons say, "Hey, Sean, you know, these are some of the best eggs I've ever had." And I slightly brushed them off, thinking they were just giving me a compliment. But one day, while doing some farm accounting, I noticed how little I was spending on my chicken feed. I was inadvertently supplementing my feeding regimen with my failed sprouts. All in all, I saved almost 50% on my feed costs because I was using less commercial kibble, and bulk seed costs a lot less money by comparison. Those factors helped me see the potential to raise animals like chickens, and it was one of the biggest inspirations for me to write Thinking Outside the Soil, a book aimed for farmers and ranchers. When I started doing my research for the book, I found this really neat visual display called Story Maps, which showed our top 6 livestock in the world and where they are currently being raised. What was fascinating was to see chickens. Current estimates indicate that there are 2 billion chickens in the United States, and there are over 22 billion chickens in the world. It's insane. By comparison, cattle, which are number 2, have about 1.5 billion. That's about 3 chickens for every person in the world, or about 6 chickens for each American. Since chickens are on pretty much every continent since Antarctica, I believe poultry farmers need to consider the hydroponic fodder avenue. Hydroponic fodder can feed geese, ostrich, emu, and other poultry. It seems if it flies, it loves hydroponic fodder. Though birds do prefer certain crops, poultry performs very well when eating fresh green hydroponic fodder. There are many other birds that can eat hydroponic fodder. You may have seen the songbird mixes at stores. Any of those could be sprouted for those birds. But because of my experience is mostly with chickens, and this is about agriculture, let's keep it to this livestock perspective. Chickens, duck, and turkey are very popular poultry species to raise, and by the numbers, chickens and ducks are the first and 4th most raised livestock in the world. Estimates put the duck population around 1.2 billion, and most of those ducks are raised in China and Southeast Asia. However, regionally in parts of Africa and Europe, people still raise ducks as part of their culture. They're also often kept in small scales as like this integral part of a farm's aquatic ecosystem. Now, one of the things that got me going on hydroponic fodder are eggs. Eggs are gold for many, especially chicken producers. Hydroponic fodder gives your ladies this thicker shell, and this is valuable because it's going to lead to fewer cracked eggs when collecting. And farmers feeding fodder also found more larger eggs. But producers do note that the layers need enough calcium and grit in their diet, or those larger, thicker eggs won't form. I throw my sprouts and things like duckweed on the ground so that my hens have to peck and scratch so they're getting some of that grit. There is some evidence that crops like cowpea seed and sunflower shells have higher levels of calcium compared to other things. However, more research is needed on some mixed feeding regimens that will provide these essential micronutrients. Farmers are also seeing faster weight gain with broilers. So meat birds are of importance to a lot of people who raise chickens. Researchers in Iran studied the effects of barley sprouts on meat birds, and they found that a 50% diet finished their birds 1 to 2 weeks earlier than chickens fed on a conventional or a 100% fodder diet. Overall, birds eating hydroponic fodder have a better appearance and they have an improved health as well. Their feathers are shiny and they fall out much less when they're stressed. This is important when they're molting in the winter months in northern latitudes like we're experiencing here in Colorado. I see that my chicken feather loss is a lot less. I recently adopted some new hens, and when they switched over to a stable feeding regimen of hydroponic fodder, I saw less feather loss, which was really interesting, something that I didn't personally see until most recently. And what's really crazy is every time that I bring out the commercial layer kibble and the sprouted barley sunflower that we feed, my chickens abandon the feeder and they run for the fodder. Without fail, they'll abandon it for the barley, for the sunflower, as well as alfalfa, clover, duckweed. I'm sure that many of you have experienced some of these things when you give your chickens some treats that are out of the norm, but when they're fed on a consistent basis, and we see that, it continuously fascinates me. I would love to hear or read what your thoughts are, so please feel free to leave me a comment or email me at sean@thinkingoutsidthesoil.com. That's SEAN, like Sean Connery. And if you want to learn more about how hydroponic fodder helps farmers save water, improve livestock quality, and become better stewards, check out thinkingoutsidthesoil.com. Right now, I am running a special offer so you can get a copy of the book. I bought a bunch, and all I ask is that you take care of the shipping and handling. This is a way better deal than you could find online or at any bookstore, so don't miss out on the next agricultural revolution. Thank you for joining me again on another episode of Thinking Outside the Soil, and have a lovely day. Hey, before you go, check out the links below, leave me a rating and review, and follow the show. Don't forget to get yourself some of our Blooming Health blended sprouting mix. Our mix has been shown to get the best eggs and create the healthiest flocks. With feed costs going up, right now's the time to lock in a subscription so that you can get the best eggs without having to go to the grocery store or the feed store anymore. Check out the links below to get yourself some Blooming Health Blended Sprouting Mix.